call to order this special meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission. It's March 8th, 2021. Could you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Elson?
Here.
Commissioner Miles?
Here.
Commissioner Phipps?
Here.
Commissioner Ravazio?
Here.
Commissioner McPherson?
Here.
Vice Chair Janowski?
Here.
And Chair Blomgren.
Here. All right, thanks everyone for taking the time for this special meeting. We're going to try to keep it short. We have some admin things to do, but in general, we just have one business item that we'll discuss, and we'll save the normal formal items, staff updates, and commissioner reports for our regularly scheduled meeting. But as we do at all meetings, the first order of business is time for public comment. If there's anyone that wishes to make a comment from the public on matters not addressed in the agenda.
I'm not seeing any raised hands, and we did not receive any emailed public comments.
Great, thank you. So close time for public comment. Item 3, presentations, none tonight. And item 4, the consent calendar. We will get this done to approve the minutes from our last meeting. So this is the approval of the draft minutes of the February 22nd, 2021 regular commission meeting. I'm sorry, I think we're going to go ahead and address the approval of those minutes at the next meeting on March 22nd. So we can save that for March 22nd. That allows us to get to our one business item of the night, 5A. And this is discussion and possible action to award a consultant agreement for administration and analysis of a community needs assessment survey for Parks and Rec master plan. So I'll hand it over to either Ashley or Louise to talk about the plan.
I'll begin and then allow time for Commissioner Brown to add anything that I might have missed. But just to follow up on the request and for consideration from this commission, let's have a little bit more background information, to be able to compare the two vendors that have submitted bids for us, get an idea of what the budget is of their proposed bids. And I also included a benchmark of what was spent in the 2006 survey for everyone to consider. I think that the main thing that we're asking the commission to consider is there's 2 points. We can either take this survey as completed in-house, and there's a number of pros and cons that are listed in the staff report, as well as the pros and cons that go with soliciting assistance from an outside vendor. And through the work that Commissioner Brown and I have done on the research and the work kind of vetting all of this for you and itemizing everything, is really seeing the value in hiring an outside consultant and their expertise and their reach, and what that does for the foundation of our research, where we go before we reach out to the community. I think that if we have a very strong document of support and analysis of what the community needs, we're going to be able to facilitate better and more enriching conversations with the community, as well as be able to really decipher what the community needs. So those are the main considerations that I'm hoping for the commission to review, and then as well as reviewing the two submitted bids, which were included in the staff report attachments. They are significantly different in price, but we do have a lot of respect for both of those industries, a lot of experience, and we did make a recommendation for consideration of one, which happens to also be the lower bid, which is roughly the same amount as spent in 2006, which I think is a great value, that there's no inflation to consider with that. So the main thing is that, let me get down to the point of discussion before Chair takes over for this. Sorry, I've got meowing cats in the background. Let's see. Sorry about that. So of the two proposals submitted, the Commissioner Brown and Director Howe have favored the proposal by ETC Institute, which is attachment 3, for $18,250 based on the approach and methodology, mail and online survey implementation, the town and other served communities, unique ability to benchmark findings compared with like communities, proprietary approach to providing a priority investment ratings and neighborhood level insights, as opposed to a proposal by GodP, which is Godby, which is attachment 4, for $28,150, which employs a phone and online methodology, but does not include the unique offerings of other approaches noted above in the first proposal. Are there any questions of me? Louise, would you like to add anything else that's from a commissioner perspective that you feel is valuable as the commission is considering the 2 points?
I think you've covered it really well. Both of these consultants have direct experience in our community or nearby adjacent communities. So we feel very confident with their understanding of who we are and also what we're trying to achieve. So we're hopeful that you've had a chance to review the proposals, but also willing to take any specific questions. The methodologies are slightly different. The costs are significantly different. And as Director House said, we have a recommendation for the lower priced approach, which we believe is a stronger approach for what we're looking for, in addition to being fiscally advantageous.
So before Chair Blomgren takes over, the recommended action is review and discuss possible action toward awarding a consultant agreement to administer a community needs assessment survey, analyze the data, and provide a comprehensive summary of findings and recommendations to be used in the foundation of Parks and Recreation Master Plan development process.
I have a question about what is our goal for how many surveys that we accomplish? How many people do we want to outreach to?
So the two approaches are slightly different. The one that we're recommending has a quantity of 400 completed surveys. The other one is 300. Both of these are statistically viable numbers. The approach that we're recommending with 400 surveys is much more likely to get us that ability to look more granularly at neighborhood level data. This is going to be really, I think, helpful for us as we think about equity issues with what we're trying to do with Parks and Rec and what's needed on the east side and versus the west side. What are people clamoring for? They also have a proprietary investment rating tool. So they look not only at unmet needs, but at how important fulfilling those needs are so that they're calibrating, not just it's an unmet need, but it's something that if we invested in it and put that in place in the town, the gains that we would get from different investments.
Thank you.
Can I make a quick comment on participation? I thought, I mean, I won't give my overall comments, but the ETC, Mill Valley, they said they wanted 350 and they ended up getting 521. So obviously one, that was great participation. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we would get also pretty good. So I don't know if that would increase our costs if we say we want 400, but we get 500. But I mean, again, I think the more input from the community we get, that would be money well spent. And I have other comments, but I'll wait until we go around.
Will we couple this survey with, similar to what we've done in the past, some community outreach kind of special meetings to get live verbal feedback to go along with the survey feedback, or is this going to be the primary channel?
The intent is it would be sequential. So we would do the community needs assessment survey first. We would get to some data-based insights and directional approaches that we want to further with conversations in a qualitative format where we would either, hopefully we're out of Zoom, where we would be able to have actual participatory meetings.
Perfect. That sounds really smart. Thank you.
I think there's a huge advantage in that because as Commissioner Brown said, we're looking at a statistically relevant sample, whereas if we just ask for input, we get the strong emotional yeses and nos rather than getting a broad survey. So I think doing the survey first statistically, and then, as she said, quantitatively looking at other comments that people bring in is definitely the best way to do it.
Agreed.
It'll also help guide discussions because I think that we'll find that members of our community that will attend those community engagement sessions, whether they're virtual or in person, those will be already our stakeholders that feel very strongly for or against different things. And this net was going to cast a wider reach for us. And I think we're going to be able to hear a little bit more a balanced approach, and I think a more respectful approach for our community.
And so the information that was included in the agenda talks about doing the survey in-house or with one of the two consultants that were named. So that's 3 possibilities. it seems like we're assuming that we believe that a survey at all is necessary and useful. And I certainly think it is. And I think based on all your questions, you agree. But I just want to make sure we're not jumping over that point as well, that we all do believe that this is a worthwhile endeavor, one of these three choices. So if you don't think so, please speak up now. But otherwise, if there's other questions about the three potential methods, go ahead and bring on the comments and questions.
I don't have a question, but I'll just give you my feedback. First of all, I thought the RFP was so well done. Louise and Ashley, that was, I mean, it was really impressive. And the staff report too. I mean, so thorough and really helpful background information. I mean, I remember when we did that first 2006 one, I had just moved to Corte Madera a couple years before. But I definitely think $18,000, $20,000 is very well worth it for the professional quality of the data and the interpreting the data and the lack of in-house resources right now with everything else that's going on. So I'm definitely in favor of going along with staff recommendation.
Thank you.
I just want to say I was really impressed by the thoroughness of ETC, and the huge difference in price just didn't make sense, but they are so thorough and so professional. I'm just very impressed, and also really like the fact that they've done a local community, Mill Valley, and have experience in our area.
And I too, who sort of followed all of Louise's and Ashley's hard work through this process, fully concur with the recommended action that we go with the low bid, which is awesome. They were the low bid. I would probably be saying, let's go with them even if they were the high bid. So it's really nice that their price is good too.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, I would just echo what's been said so far about the hard work from staff and from Commissioner Brown, and also that it seems like it's money well spent and we're headed the right direction here. Okay, if we're all seeming aligned on this, then if we could have somebody make a motion for the town to engage ETC according to the agenda materials, then we can move to a vote.
Also
Public
move.
comment first.
Okay. Oh yeah, is there any public comment?
Yeah, sorry about that. Wasn't aware if anybody was there.
Looks like we want to have one hand raised.
Yes. Looks like Patty's on.
Hello, Patty?
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're doing another survey. It's really, really wonderful. When we started Age Friendly, we sent a survey just to those in town over 55, and the response was 747 responses. So I was a little bit taken aback that you're thinking somewhere in the 300, 400 range. Do you know what the number of survey results in the 2006 survey was? That's one question. And then I looked a little bit at the survey examples, and I started to try to figure out how I would answer. And I thought, okay, how many times a week did I go to the rec center? And when I was going, when the AFIC was there, I would go 3, maybe 4 times a week. But that's not what I was doing before those programs were there. So I think as you think through the questioning, you're going to have to separate out to be able to get a good reading of what was tied to the intergenerational center and that attendance and activities, and what's tied to the regular recreation programming. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a guess or knowledge of how many people answered the survey in 2006?
think those are great questions. I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I think that was also her second question related to making sure that we define services and offerings that were offered through the Parks and Recreation versus AFIC was a really good point.
And as we heard in that ETC had a goal in Mill Valley for a certain number of responses and got considerably more. So I think it's certainly, if we do go forward, worth talking with ETC and having them understand that we'd be willing to take more survey recipients than what they've offered.
I do have an answer to the question on 2006 survey. There were 300 respondents, and it's because they did outreach directly, so they controlled the number of people that they reached out to.
Thank you for looking that up.
So I would move that we recommend that or that we give approval for the authorization of this contract with the selected recommended service provider.
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we have a vote?
Sorry, I was muted. Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Elson,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Ravazio,
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Janowski,
Yes.
and Chair Blomgren.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I just one quick question to Rebecca and Ashley. At our last meeting, you asked that any input on the survey instrument itself be sent to you. Was any received? We will be meeting with the consultant to actually finalize the survey.
I did not receive any comments.
I did not receive any comments either.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we are free to move forward to engage with ETC. Thanks again for everyone taking the time for this special meeting. And as we said earlier, we are going to hold back on all the other routine and other matters until our regularly scheduled March 22nd meeting. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.